Hello everyone. Good evening and good morning, good now. Welcome and well zooming everyone. Thank you very much joining to our regular Tuesday night teachings on the perfection of wisdom according to the realization and writings of celebrated 15th century Tibetan master Rongton Sheja Kunrig. So we have been going through a few sessions. This is only the part one. So as usual, we will first start with the renewal of our deep confidence and belief in the valid enlightened teachings of the Buddha and the Buddha himself and the celebrated succession of masters that has made the living lineage possible to continue today. We deeply acknowledge and our actual living teachers and their teachers and their teachers and so on over so many centuries and time. These teachings have come down through their amazing dedication. And so to acknowledge them, we do the refuge by way of paying respect to them and by way of reconfirming and renewing our affirmation in the faith in the Dharma and faith in the actual practicing of it, that we ourselves may have better witnessed the benefit that our life is experiencing, a sense of sanity and kindness and lesser of regret and more of a joy, how we wish to spend our time. And we finished off last week by saying when the practitioner engages in the virtuous actions, then he does not procrastinate in his other duties, because he becomes better, more diligent with everything else he does too. But at the same time, he becomes even more skillful in not doing many things that he cannot do. So don't overload oneself, but do those that are important more meaningfully and fruitfully, and give yourself time also to rest and be gentle with yourself, because things are not doable by doing all the time. Sometimes we have to stop. You have to stop doing too much. And Buddha felt that at the age of 29, he needed to stop altogether. Amazing. He needed to all stop together. He said, this can't go on. This can't go on, you know. It's as if he has won a very hard-won election. And then he's about to sort of go for the next election for another 5 years that he has every chance of losing, and then he really feels stressed. It's not like that, you know. He was so wise, so wise to win such a lottery to become a king, and then so revered and so much, but yet he felt, look, age of 29, he said this can't go on. So we need to also stop some things and do other things that need some better attention. So I regard our session tonight and evenings for like one of those very important things. So renewing refuge and generating bodhicitta with the intention to not think of just today and now and me and my body, but future and others, and our mind stream will benefit if I do this. So with this kind of foresight and fortitude, we need to do the good things with a lot of diligence and without any procrastinations. So within mind, we'll do the refuge and four immeasurables before the teachings, and I'll screen share this for benefit of all of you. If I say that I'm going to do this teaching for the benefit of others, I should at least screen share it. And for the benefit of those who are here, actually we got a piece of paper to give to you. So we're very organized. Thank you very much. Last week we didn't even have that, you know. So sometimes it's all lip service for the benefit of all the individuals. Oh, yeah, the Buddha Dhamma Sangha Ajara Vida Bhavaja Ajivendala Ajare Vadavadavebe Enda Buddha Dhamma Ajare Vijaladama by virtue Ajivendala Ajare Vadavadavebe Enda Buddha Dhamma Ajare Vijaladama by virtue Ajivendala Ajare Vadavadavebe happiness and the cause of happiness may there be free from suffering and the cause of suffering may they never from the happiness that suffering may they dwell equanimity free from judgment and aversion to the snare and fall. May hobbies happiness and the cause of happiness may they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering may they never be from the happiness that suffering may they dwell equanimity free from judgment and aversion to the snare and fall. May hobbies happiness and the cause of happiness may they be free from suffering and the cause of suffering may they never be from the happiness that suffering may they dwell equanimity free from judgment and aversion to the snare and fall. Good to the intelligence and predisposition of the Dharma agrel come So we're going to continue where we left last week. So the next segment of this text moves on to talk about this particular segment is scrutinize and witness the view. The view here refers to the teachings the Buddha gave that distinctively is so exhilaratingly bright and enlightening to know that things are which we regard expect to be permanent. Buddha doesn't say some are permanent, some are impermanent, so check which are and keep those that are permanent. He says all things are impermanent, by the way. So it's quite a we call it Raldinamyuk in Tibetan. It's like the sword that came flying from the sky and cut everything. So it didn't spare anything. So he says everything is impermanent. It's really good to remember that, because we don't remember. We want most of things to be permanent. And we even say I've got a permanent job, which is quite deceiving. And then of course when they got sacked, then they really get disappointed. So they are nothing permanent. So scrutinize, witness the view, such as impermanence of impermanence, and unsatisfactory things as unsatisfactory. Buddha thinks everything in the world is ultimately unsatisfactory because they will not remain the same. However new it is, tall it is, or fit is it, or harmonious it is, fit it is, healthy it is, because of the impermanence of things, even satisfactory ones will not become proved to be satisfactory. So, therefore, witness the view, scrutinize the meaning of the right view of all phenomena from the summit of the distant mountain of perfect view. So it means you have to, because most people don't get the right view, because it's far in the distance. They don't have the right view. They don't have a near experience of what the right view is. So try to go to a summit from which you will have an aerial view of the whole world, how they look differently, because the advantages point from where you look. Every place you go they have a lookout. Go to the lookout. Here in Canberra, we go to the Mount Ainslie lookout, isn't it? And the Black Mountain Tower lookout, and some lookout. When you go look there, it's quite different. Everything's very different. So get the right view from where you look everything. So don't think that your life is only like that. Don't think that some people is only like that to you. Everyone is like that. So scrutinize and witness the right view and the meaning of that in all phenomena from the summit of a distant mountain of view. So you try to travel to a distance where you can reach to the lookout, and then survey the plight of nature of reality. So this is the realizing the nature of the right view. Insight through meditation, through listening, through study, through all kind of practice, you get a glimpse of the right view. When abiding in the perfect meditative equanimity, meaning when you do meditation and are actually sometimes able to enter in a deep meditative state that has the equanimity. Meditative equanimity means it is not wavered by dullness or agitation or excitement or boredom or desire or anything like that, but that you are able to actually sit there very much like a rock, mountain, unmovable like a rock. Place the iron boulder of concentration. Put your boulder of concentration in the ocean of mind. Your mind is so vast, so that it is immovable by any discursive thoughts. This image, this image of your meditation should be, mind of your meditation. Mind that does meditation should be like an ocean. And your focus should be like a boulder you put in the ocean, So it is not, there is no movable by any current of discursive thoughts, Can you see these images? Very clear images, very clear images, The discursive thoughts could rob your attention and very quickly. But, so that your meditative concentration should be so immovable, like the rock, like really quickly, properly fixed attention to the object of meditation. So various discursive thoughts, whether it's positive thoughts or negative thoughts, what we call distractive thoughts, so they don't waver your concentration. So this is like a direct instruction how you should think of your meditation. Place the boulder of your attention, big rock. Your attention should be very, 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 very fixed into the mind. Burn the afflicted emotional waste and ablaze them with the fireball of antidote. You can see this. Burn the afflicted emotional waste. People are holding a lot of emotional waste. Poor me, I did this to me, I didn't go through this, why did I waste all my 12 years with this person? And people said, you waste my 20 years, they say. Blatantly they say that, And they're talking about emotional waste. All these 12 years they've been regurgitating with ill will and anger and so on. They think it's them. Burn the afflictive emotional waste and ablaze them in the fireball of antidote. You just pulverize and shred those emotional waste. Shred away those emotional waste by the right view, sword of the right view, yeah? You should slash them. You have to slash them and prune them. If you prune them regularly, you don't have to slash them. I only knew about the distinction between slashing and pruning. Going to Siba, they said, we have to get that slash. It wouldn't work with the normal lawnmower, or even ride-on mower wouldn't do it. You need a tractor and slash it. Yes, that's right. When you don't prune it regularly, then you have a much heavier job at your hand than you usually do. Lots of people, all of a sudden they have to slash all of their emotional garbage, and so sometimes you need to do long special retreat practice that you just have to slash them. You're so small little tools to prune wouldn't be working. It will take too long a time. But if you're doing daily trimming, regular weekly or monthly or periodical trimming of your garden, of course you wouldn't be needing the slasher. Fireball of antidote. You've got to burn them, ablaze them, set them on fire. Set them on fire of wisdom that incinerates all the negativities. So don't keep them. Don't keep them. People are thinking, talking up to each other. This happened to me. They did this to me. I haven't cope with it. I have to take a mental health leave. All that sort of thing. Mental health. What is mental health leave? Emotional waste. This poor me. They're doing this. Poor me. I can't go to work. I can't do this. And then all this sick leave, all this sickness leave. Of course, you're warranted, but why has to be taken that long? Why it hasn't been handled regularly? It's been ignored. It's been ignored, and then one is snowed under all these undealt issues. Person who do daily meditation practice, Vajrasattva meditation, refuge like this, at least 6-7 times a daily refuge, so powerful. Even if you don't have many practice, just renew your refuge, 6 times. Renew your bodhicitta 6 times, whether you just 3 times each time, minimum 3 times, by the way. Minimum 3 times. If you can, do a few more rounds, and you wouldn't believe how quickly your mind becomes, pruned. You become mind. We call in Tibetan Buddhism 6-session yoga. You do this at least six times a day, which means 4 hours. Every 4 hours you do. It might be just maybe no more than half an hour if you know how to synthesize the practices. And then you keep your sanity and you do not let all this emotional garbage piling up into your mind. Yeah, so you need to burn them regularly. So this kind of regular attendance teaching, I'm not saying just here, wherever you attend teaching, there's a lot of great teachers, much more important, highly realized than us, to give very many teachings like this. So you should make a good habit and discipline to receive regular teachings, and make as though you have those amazing teachers come to your own city and giving the teachings. Nowadays we don't have to even go to the next block. You just switch on the Zoom and that's it. And so make yourself this regular practice very healthy. This will help you to do the pruning regularly, because if you haven't had the power of knowledge, you don't have the power of skill to do that. If you don't have the knowledge, of course you don't know how to mind your mind. You never get taught how to mind your mind and feelings and emotions. They don't. They only teach about matter. They only teach about, why there is this kind of smell after rain, these things like that. They're all talking about things out there. Then they're not talking about what's going on in your emotions, And then maybe some small fraction of our scientists are starting to learn the mind and consciousness and so on. But the majority are all studying things out there. But yet most of our sufferings are made in here by not managing those emotional garbage. One shouldn't even cultivate those emotions, let alone keep pile of them, One should learn how to shred them regularly. In office they have a paper shredder. Every home should be an emotional shredder. Dharma blade is kept very sharp every day. Study, reading, listening, comparing, meeting Dharma friends, sharing books, sharing teachings. You keep your knife very sharp, readiness to shred those untoward thoughts, perceptions. Then you will be have the fire of knowledge. You can antidote. Your wisdom is antidote. Your wisdom is the antidote to incinerate the sufferings. You just burn them. Burning is such a relief. Have you noticed that? When you want to get rid of something, you burn. It's so nice. Nothing left. Yeah. We do fire puja in Tibetan Buddhism after you did a retreat, after you do some practice, or you go through lots of difficult time. We don't know how to. So we do special rituals to burn away all your emotional garbage in the ritual fire in the name of the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha, and then offer all these various edibles and ingredients, a symbol of your kind of like sesame seed. They usually burn sesame seed, black sesame seed. Very difficult to pick one sesame seed, out of the bowl because it's so tiny. But yet our negative karma has been accumulated. Each sesame seed has got oil, It's accumulated in a whole bowl full of the sesame seed there, So we deliberately burn those sesame seed in the form of a seed syllable kang. Seed syllable kang means karma. Karma is karma. And we burn in fire. Ritually we do that every now and then to symbolize that people have left too many negativities in their mind, completely ignored and never paid attention, never knew they were negative, let alone that they were harmful to oneself, and one got justified reason to have anger towards that, sad towards this, and badly treated this way, and one just keep all of these, and then one start being beaten by it, So one should know the negative as tiny as they are, even sesame seed size, so they do not get piled up. That's what it's saying. You should blaze them in the fireball of antidote. Yeah. When the old bird makes its call, it is the dawn and the eve of impending death. Yeah. So this is talking about when the bird Bird has particular time when they come to particular, like when the bird comes to the South Pole or the bird go to the North Pole, they got particular time they go, You can see the thousands of birds are taking off a particular time. You can see that's the season changing. So when they make those calls, old bird makes a call, it's a particular time because they know they will die if they stay long in that winter. They know they have lost many youngs, so they all make sure that everybody go. It's coming. The freezing winter is coming. Let's get out of here. So they make these calls to inform all the birds. This is understanding of nature. This is understanding of nature. When the old bird makes its call, it's a time of the eve of impending death. So that means there are a lot of calls in your life. You will see many signs. It's time that you should do something. It's time that you don't neglect your spiritual well-being. It's time that you do reconcile with your loved ones and families, and do not feel them, make them feel that you don't love them or you're still angry at them. If you do that, you're going to have increasing guilt of not doing it, patching it on time. So do those reconciliation job before it's too late. That's what it's really saying. When the air of aggregate disperse, it is time to return home. So this is talking about the sign of your when the fair of the aggregate disperse. Aggregates is like form, strength, warmth, all the body aggregates gather together like a fair, fair. Everybody gather to the, usually in Canberra they'll be ready to gather to the folk festival, folk festival. Now they can't. So when they all gather for the festival for 4 days, and then meaning that you have been strong, you've been young, and you've done all of that, and now it's about to disperse. Your aggregates are going to disperse soon. Your strength, your ability, your fitness, your kind of motivation, everything disperse. Some of us already have dispersed already. Dispersed. Sometimes it's really, I should eat an egg or something, otherwise I feel very dispersing. When you become vegetarian, there's people who are not so good at about other types of food. All of a sudden, they don't know what else to eat, and then I should eat an egg or something, because they can feel the body aggregates are dispersing. It's time to return home. What? The aggregates of solid goes to the earth, liquid go to the water, warmth go to the coldness, and the air goes to nowhere. And so when these five elements disperses, go to their home, and then you got nothing left, Like a fair is over. Nobody's there at the fair. Right now we are at a fair. Fair, 70-year fair going on still. 70. But we never know how long is anybody's fair's duration, Fair's duration. My mother's duration was 95. We couldn't believe how she did well. My dad did pretty good, about 89. And I don't think my eldest brother didn't do that, He only did 71, So he's the one who did not do near even my parents. So the rest of us are just queuing up. The rest of us are queuing up. Every time you gotta call, my sister calls me. I had an operation. I can't do prostration. So she's informing her affairs are dispersing. affairs of sight is dispersing, or at least she can't do prostration because when she go down, it really hurts the operation. So like that, we are all returning, we are all on our way out. So have that kind of wisdom, and therefore do not get attached to some fairs. So even this whole body is a fair, let alone things, people coming and not living your life. Don't think it's their bad, or they deserted you or not. Like that. Don't think like that. It's nature of affairs to some pack up 4 o'clock. Do you know the Kingston market? Some people didn't have a good day, so they're packing at 4 o'clock. Others had a fairly good morning. They're going to stay until 6. Interesting. So, how was your affair so far? Some people want to live longer because their lives been good, Others just had a really bad affair and they want to die. Yeah. I heard a young girl, I don't know, she's not even 20. I think Paul is here. His daughter's girlfriend commits suicide, Yeah. They just can't handle this affair. It's not fair. And they can't stand this fair. It's not fair for people like her. Yeah, it's so. And they don't want to live. They're afraid of living another day. They'll be judged, or they'll be, bullied, or punished, or people being harsh. It's a very tough world, It's not a good place to run a long fair. Yeah, so that's life. It's time to return home. So it means you need to go to next sort of breath, and where it goes. Who knows where we're gonna go. Wrong guide pushes one to the lower realms. You see, so there's be careful. If you're not careful, you might have people who you think you're listening to, or you really, rely on their guidance or their opinions. They may push you to the lower realms, and you can tell whether they are or they're not. And usually people who they think your best friend, they say bad things about other people, and try to poison your mind, try to incite some kind of aggression or whatever wrong views they have, and you will be pushed to the lower realms. Impure teachings foster wrong concepts. Yeah. So people are resorting to certain teachings that are incorrect teachings. Saying there is no world after life, there's no life after death, and there's no law of karma, and people who blatantly reject our long-held spiritual heritage of love and kindness and compassion and so on. Instead of saying that, they might teach all the other teachings. When the Dharma has deteriorated into suffering, practice will fail, When you are complaining that your own practice of Dharma has deteriorated, your own quality practice deteriorated, then you will feel you're snowed under sufferings. And then you will think, this is not good. I won't practice. This practice doesn't help me. And then you develop this wrong view and lose faith in the Dharma. That's exactly what they're talking about. You get pushed by wrong friends who think that this practice one shouldn't do. And of course, one should modify and adapt. Doesn't mean one should be snowed under so many practices you can't do. You just do live a reasonable number of time. That doesn't mean you're rejecting the practices. Other practices are synthesized in this practice, So you know how to do that. But if not, then say, I can't do this, I can't can't do this, I can't do this. This gives me stress, this gives me anxiety, this gives me burden, this gives me that. And then when a person is deteriorated to the extent of hating their practice and hating their own life because it's think that the practice hasn't worked, so there you can tell they are short-sighted. They only believe in short-term benefit. They don't have far-sighted vision of the Dharma's purposes for the benefit of future lives, for the benefit of others, and so on. One is looking for quick result in this life, and then when they go through tough, difficult time, they think this suffering is caused by deterioration of their own lack of practice of Dharma. So then their practice will fail, you know. So it's interesting, you know. Yeah. Of course, it's very good to have some people like among yourselves who are sticking with your practice, even though you are really learning in a difficult way. It's totally different language, different culture, different philosophy, different cultural context of the teachings, and often people like us, still true, cannot really teach the teachings because it's a different concept. We have to translate so many cultures, so many layers of histories, and so on. And often we mean it well, but people don't understand it. And they interpret it in a one way or another, and then there's a huge culture shock of understanding. And a lot of the teachers who come to teach in the West are brought up in their traditional culture and face many, many challenges, and they have this fear of losing their form of Buddhism, of the culture, and they really wanted to impose that, teach that exactly what people should do, and then, of course, people feel this is just a cultural Buddhism, this is not true Buddhism, and then, of course, there is a lot of that too, So there's every danger of people taking first the practices very idealistically, you know, and then later on they realize they have taken too many sadhanas. They have some of them say, I got 4 sadhanas, what am I going to do? They start worrying. They should actually learn to do 1 or 2 practices and stick with that, and slowly get advice from really good spiritual friends, and make reasonable sort of adaptation, and so then you got to really adapt the practices. Even then, it's a lot of the time the teachings and empowerments you get from the high lamas, they come and go quickly, and you don't get to even get any advice. So you're really stranded. So you have to rely on someone like me, who's nobody, who's just like a little postman of the local, just sending the little letters in there, you know. And we could not do enough duties. So you're doing very well, I would say, but people take Dharma very seriously, you know, very, very literally also, very literally too, and they really want enlightenment happen within a couple of years, and they thought it's going to all happen. So, of course, we need to take the practice very, very, contextually, and not let the practice become a burden, but practice become how to shift our mind and attitude. You know, if you're doing that, it's better than reading 30 pages of sadhana every morning, and then you really feel, oh, this is too much. Oh, this is too much. I don't have time to do this. It's not changing your attitude at all. You're developing resentment to the volume of the practice, you know. If that's happening, definitely you haven't got the true teachings. So you need to understand the Dharma, so that the practice of Dharma does not sort of take over your life as if it's a burden to you, a commitment to you. You have no commitment to me or anybody. You have only commitment to you, to change your life and mind, and angry mind to the good mind, and that's the only commitment there is. You know, sometimes practice is just to change your mind. You know, if your practice isn't changing your mind, you're obviously doing the practice for other reasons. You know. And so the Buddha said, purify your mind, that is Dharma. And to purify Dharma, you witness your own mind and then change. Practice will fail, it says. Practice will fail if your understanding of Dharma has deteriorated into becoming cause of suffering. Yeah, when people, a bad tradesman blames his tool, doesn't it? So like people blame their own things. So that means they haven't really heard the teachings very well. They haven't really understood Dharma. They have just taken up spiritual materialism, They have taken up so many things, but actually not synthesizing that what is it, the thing that is meant for. So we must make sure that your practice doesn't fail. If faith is premature, it will be conditionally rejected. Yeah, this is talking about premature, sort of premature. Means people have so much quick faith in someone or something. They even have faith in people, saying they will save their life or whatever. Buddha never said have faith in people. How could deluded people can help you? They're just as deluded, probably more. Culturally, they got a long way to go. They're probably very, very deluded as well. They may be a little bit more conversant in Dharma terminology. But how do you know? So you don't have if faith is premature means you just have faith in people, or culture or status or like that, then it's a premature. Your faith has to be based on your experience of the Dharma, how much it helped you. It will be conditionally rejected. Yeah, soon you will reject the faith and objects of faith, and you never knew the faith in that. Faith is the faith. It was very emphasized at the very beginning, but the faith has to be earned by oneself. Even in the Buddha never said, have faith in me. He said that your own investigation and understanding of Dharma will save you, but his belief in him, have faith in the Buddha, all these things will not save. So therefore, premature faith, inappropriate faith, improper faith, faith in people or faith in institution, but faith in the actual teachings of the law of interdependent origination, teachings of the emptiness, teaching on impermanence. These are not just have faith also. You need to see how they are teachings and how they will become cause of remedying your sorrows. It will be conditionally rejected because then they lose faith. If people put a premature faith in the person, then something goes wrong with people and them, which obviously will, because they're all dealing with unsatisfactory sentient beings, So then their faith they will conditionally reject their faith. There are some people like that. They're losing faith because their fellow sentient being collapsed. Buddha said, don't rely on people, rely on Dharma. Don't rely on words, rely on the meaning, Don't rely on the provisional meaning, rely on the ultimate meaning. Don't rely on the consciousness, rely on the wisdom consciousness, Most consciousness is a deluded consciousness. So this four reliance teaching talks the importance of not misplacing faith in people, institutions, status, and things like that. If enthusiasm is premature, it will be conditionally discouraged. Yeah, premature enthusiasm means some people become very enthusiastic at the very beginning. They will do, and all of a sudden, it suddenly stops, and they don't want to do anything. So don't do that. Your enthusiasm should be steady. Slow and steady wins the race. This is not a Tibetan Buddhist saying at all. This is, I learned to say this before I learned to speak English very well. Slow and steady wins the race. And then my teacher said, look at this. He will put the turtle and the rabbit. He says the rabbit is hopping. He says, don't do like that, Go like the turtle, slowly go, and you will keep going. Don't hop like the rabbit, and soon you will come back. So in practice also, take slow steps, slow and steady. Yeah. That's talking about premature enthusiasm. Premature, it will be conditionally discouraged. So premature means it is really means if you it means your Tana means it is too early. So it means too early, which is premature, isn't it? You're putting all your enthusiasm right at the beginning, and nothing left when it meant to really happen, like that. So you should check slowly and then increase your velocity. It's just like breathing, slowly increase, slowly speed the car, Don't drive the car from your driveway 90 kilometers an hour. And so drive slowly, and only when it reaches somewhere it's a 90 or 100 kilometers, then try to raise the speed a little bit. Even that, if it's very safe. So doing it, suinke means you get discouraged. You get discouraged. You get conditionally discouraged by yourself. You say, "Oh, I can't do this anymore," because you did so premature. But if you did slowly, regularly, you can see. Slowly you've been doing that. It is starting to really gel well on you, and you are learning a lot because you haven't wasted a lot of premature energy also, and you haven't put all your interest into that. You've been able to do that. If enthusiasm is premature, it will be conditionally discouraged. Excessive analysis of wisdom will cause indecision. Yeah. This is true, Too much analysis, There should be some time after which you should stop examining. Otherwise, Buddha said the goldsmith would cut the gold, rub the gold, smell the gold. But if you did too much, you might have no gold left. Okay? There's that happening, Some people test too much, and then they test too much, and then there's no good left, They say even in the testing teachers in the Dharma says you should test teachers for 12 years. Even if you test teacher 3 years, you will start noticing they're still human. This is my understanding. So I realized, they're not really saying testing. Who am I that I can test my teacher? When I do, they're much more knowledgeable, learned, more experienced than me, but they still have karma. They still are born in the corporal body, and so for me to expect him to be faultless, completely like immaculate like Buddha, would be completely unrealistic. You will be discouraged. You will soon be. So if you put too much emphasis, so in the teaching exercise, after you have developed a good friendship with a spiritual friend, then just treat it like that and don't investigate anymore, because you do, it starts smelling. I sometimes think about recent sort of situation in the West and all the controversies. So I was thinking, this emphasis to check is going a bit over the board. They actually says in the traditional teachings that after checking, they say, in the end you have to look at what the great benefit that you have with this friendship than the problems. So outweigh the benefit. If your benefit is all outweigh the problems, then maybe you should leave it with economously from you. But even then, it is not a cause for you to lose your whole faith in the Dharma because of that. That's exactly the premature faith is. You put all your faith in the person without your own practice of Dharma. So that's why it is important to how not to, do overusing excessive analysis of wisdom will cause indecision. Yeah, quite a lot of monastic academics, they're so sharp in debating. They're really, really known for their sharpness of the wisdom debate. And these monks can never meditate, because their mind is so cheered up with this, and they cannot meditate. They're only good talkers. And they call Geshe Tsikim method means this Geshe has flowery words of flowery words. His words are very beautiful, but he can't meditate. Very good at internally talking. He cannot meditate. So there is that kind of saying. So if you do excessive analytical mind only, you don't know how to calm the mind one-pointedly, do your practice of devotion and these things, because devotion and reason actually goes sometimes not hand in hand, one can play against the other. So that's why they say that don't use excessive analysis wisdom, because this will cause indecision. Yeah, some people think their thinking rational mind is too sharp to notice that they cannot be bothered believing this way or that way. So they are always standing on the fence. They're neither belonging here nor belonging there, and they're always observer to either side. They're non-committed to others. And quite a lot of people there, they say, "Oh, I'm still scientist. I'm not a Buddhist," they call it. Some people have no difficulty being scientists and Buddhists, which is really good. That means they, others think it's a weakness to be a Buddhist if you're a scientist. I think there are, and people have good reason to think the Buddha is the first scientist. The first scientist. So, and His Holiness Dalai Lama definitely promotes the use of analysis and examination and so on and so forth. But he will definitely agree. If you excessively pull one direction, then you don't have any faith and devotion, and then the Buddhism without devotion and faith will be quite a different thing. It still will be useful for thinking, for philosopher thinking, but how much it actually will develop the heart and emotion of the people will be quite a different thing. So that's why excessive analysis of wisdom will cause indecision. Making promise beyond one's ability only brings on to commit misdeeds. Yeah, don't take up too many promises. That fails the actual undertaking. So, meaning if you make too many promises beyond your own ability, this is exactly saying don't take on too many sadhanas. And even if you take empowerments, most good teachers will tell you, "Oh, you stick with your existing practices. You can take this empowerment. That's fine." Most teachers will tell that. Others seem to say that, "Oh, you got to do this because you're receiving from me." This is the most important teacher, you are meeting the most important teacher. It doesn't matter how many other important teachers you get before and however many practices they get. They don't seem to say that. They should say, "Oh, that's good. You should stick whichever practice. These are all same. This is 10 Buddha lineages, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, same lineage." There is no different lineages. Even different lineages, the wire that comes through the lineage is exactly the same. So it's good. Everybody takes refuge. Everybody generate bodhicitta. Everybody is asked to practice 4 immeasurables, 6 parameters, dedication methods. So what the lineage they talking about? Just the name of the list of the different hat wearers, are they? Oh gosh. So are you going to be so attached to color of hat, and then it looks like a little logo of clubs, And that's really not healthy Buddhism, They call that Lamaism for a reason. Because the Tibet was very isolated, very, very isolated, not just from the rest of the world, but even from each other. They thought the other side of the people, other side of the river were them. And we are we. They never saw each other as one because they never traveled, So their Lamaistic kind of way of doing it, they don't even know Buddha. They only talk about their lineage and their teacher, and they put huge images of their founding lineage, and the Shakyamuni Buddha, small one on the side, And no wonder people like Waddles and early English explorers who went to Tibet, they wrote a book and they call it Introduction to Lamaism. and they didn't call it Introduction to Buddhism. Definitely there is that fixation of these human beings who are said to be incarnation, nirmanakaya of various great Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. I mean, that's a really good idea. I don't think there's any bad. But we just heard only in the first sermon, the Buddhas are very rare. And then even future Buddhas already reincarnated. I mean, future Buddha is yet to appear, but he's already reincarnated, not to mention all the names of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And then people become saying, my Lama, my lineage, like that, actually and fail to understand. Only recently there is the movement happening called How to Promote Non-Sectarianism and so on. We're learning. So not everything the what you call teachings are. Of course, you have to really make sure that how to distinguish the grain and the chaff of the teachings. A lot of you got to do this. Oh, you got to receive this. You got to take this sadhana seriously. Who cares what you did before? Oh, what did you receive before? Oh, they are same. Keep that one. That's fine. They're all one. Maybe you can take a little mantra commitment from here on top of that. Otherwise, it's fine. If we promote it like that, then of course there wouldn't be overload. People wouldn't be needing to be taking up so many commitment to not knowing which to take, which to. Then they feel they are letting down that teacher. They think they're letting down that lineage. Oh gosh, I never knew that lineages was that precarious. that one practitioner would let down the lineage, another practitioner let down the lineage. Oh, I don't think so. Lineage is much stronger than that. Lineage is devotion, not like that. It's not. We're not recruiting soldiers here, We're trying to, slash the egos here. We're trying to slash the egos here. So it's very important that you don't take too much commitment. Making promise beyond one's ability only brings on to commit mistakes. Then one fails this. Then one feels, I'm not good. And then people really feel guilty that they cannot, They don't want to do another empowerment. They just feel bad. They just, So we need to really understand. We really need to educate our Dharma community by saying all the lineages and various sadhanas, practices, all should be seen as the very pearl of the Dharma Buddha taught about synthesizing the Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Path, and how you practice them in a very 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 good synthesis of that is to tame your mind. If you tame your mind, you have never broken any vows. If you don't shave on time and that's like that, of course you have broken a vow of not shaving on time. But what does that do? Or maybe you ate after midday and maybe they transgress something, but you're going to be that literalist? That literalism is not Buddhism. Buddhism is middle way. You got to be moderate, I sometimes joking, the Theravada monks, they can't eat if after midday Bangkok time. But as long as they eat before Bangkok time, it's okay. Even though they're different parts of the world. If you think like that, that seems a bit odd, isn't it? Yeah. So you got to adapt according to the time and not being too much a problem to each other. So there's a lot of cultural things about Buddhism that we need to distinguish from this. Imposter will certainly fail. Those people, imposter means those who themselves are deceiving themselves will fail in their practice. Faking realization without realization will not liberate on the path. And don't say, I have realization, I've seen Padmasambhava, like that. What do you mean by Padmasambhava? What does it mean, Padmasambhava? I've seen so many people. People mystified that you seeing Padmasambhava is make you some special person or something. I mean, I see so many people, it doesn't really happen much. I never say, oh, I saw Anthony today. Oh, don't you think, he's my best friend. Why don't I say that? I should say that, I say, oh, I saw Padmasambhava in a dream or something. This kind of mysticism. People try to associate mysticism and Buddhism, faking realization. Seeing Padmasambhava, they think it's realization, And they found one statue spoke to them. They said, this statue spoke to me, In Tibet, there's this kind of thing. Oh, this statue spoke, And they all go to see the statue because this statue spoke. I mean, I see people speaking all the time, I mean, these statues, these are Buddha Rupas too. These are all Buddhas, I'm told. These are all Buddhas. So we mystify too much, spiritually materialize too much, and this is faking realization without realization will not liberate. Even if you saw Padmasambhava, so what? If it hasn't increased your detachment, if it hasn't increased your compassion, if it hasn't increased, so what's that? What is it? It's just a good thing to write in your journal. What does it really mean? Although this presumptuous Dharma practice seeking others' approval may look good, but ultimately it will fail. Yeah. So one is trying to practice Dharma in order to seek approval of other people. People think they think I'm great or I'm wise or I'm disciplined or I'm genuine or something. If you try to do that good, you always try to make a little showcasing other people without actually investigating your mind. Definitely, he says, ultimately, you will fail. I mean, you will not be practicing Dharma. You don't want to belong to the Dharma group because of the way you do. So, if one has the essential realization of the instructions, others will not cause one's mouth to water. Yeah. So, if you are really practicing Dharma, if you understood the essential teachings, you are not always waiting to someone to inspire you. No, you're not always dependent on someone's wonderful acts to inspire you or to disappoint you with other people's limitations. You will have your own kind of confidence in the Dharma that you know and where you practice, how much it depends on one's own practice rather than the showcasing of others. If one has the confidence of definite conviction, no doubt will arise. Yeah, you wouldn't have doubt concerning the meaning of the Dharma. If one's practice is sufficiently developed, whatever the practice is, there will be no returning on the path. Yeah, you will always progress. You're going to stick it on. You're going to stick on the path, and there's no qualms, no indecision, no changing your mind about it. You may have to sometimes adapt your practice, maybe number of it, frequency of it, and how to alternate some practice. It's good. This thing's a healthy thing to do, so you shouldn't feel, no, I don't want to change my practice. Sometimes you probably need a little bit of spring cleaning. So, if one has seen the true meaning, no opposition will frighten. Yeah, If you have seen the true meaning of the Dharma, no opposition, even if some are against you, something you're wrong or bad or whatever. People have all kinds of opinions. They're completely entitled to those opinions, And their negative opinion will not intimidate you, frighten you, discourage you, deflate your ego, or lose your hope in them, and not like that. Your practice is more important than needing other people to sing praises to you, or like that, So if you send the true meaning of forgiveness towards others, or admission of one's own limitations, and other people's opposition to you will only boost your confession. Yeah, it would not. Other people's opposition will not lose your faith and faith in the Dharma, or increase your negative thoughts toward them. But you will see through their it's a constructive suggestion or whatever actually will help me to beat my ego and pride. It's very good. No opposition will frighten you, intimidate you. So it's very good, very good way of testing your practice, if you have the practice is happening or not. Gold is only tested by non-gold, Gold doesn't have to rub on gold to test, So it's good to be challenged, good to be, put a sort of whatever intimidates you. Then you will show the true color. Your color of the practice of Dharma only goes well only in the nice things, only pleasant things, when people do nice things. Even they do exact opposite, to the extent of ordinary people have no chance of maintaining their practice. That is the time when true warrior is born. Yeah. No opposition will frighten. When the tolerance is established in enduring hardships, one will yield success in the tolerance. Yeah. Yeah. So success is not having difficult things to come to you. You just avoid all the time. Every time you avoid. But success is when you can put up with the hardships and then learn the things you never thought was possible to do, and not harbor ill will to others, but rather conquer your demons. That's real success, That's the real success, yeah. If one endows the essential instruction, anything will flow on the path naturally, yeah. The path will never, obstacle will not block you. It will only test you, It says, if you're following the instructions, following very well, the obstacles will not block the flow of your progress. It will only test the flow of your progress, yeah? Yeah, that's very, very important, So this very practitioner, when we're talking perfection wisdom, practice of patience, practice of tolerance, practice of diligence. Diligence or courage is not, you have this very amazing courage at the beginning, but when you have opposition factors meeting you, impeding you on the way, your courage is not renewable. Then there's no real courage. There was no courage. The courage just has to be tested. You can't say he's a good fighter unless he fight. He has to fight. Like that. Buddha was a fighter, He was a fighter of all the demons of ego and his body, his emotions, we call the four maras, He faced his own maras, and all this difficult. His body was emaciated. He forgot to eat. He never felt any need to eat because he was relishing the Dharma and the meditation and flavor of the concentration. Meditation was keeping him much more boosted than anything. But physically speaking, he was deteriorating condition so bad. It's a complete neglect, So when Buddha's body was turned into skeleton, that's the time that he really discovered the flow of the path, When you look at these highways and paths these days, they were not like that before. There were boulders, mountains, and ridges, and they were bulldozed, they were blasted so much before they made those roads, So it was never plain sailing. Plain sailing is not called flow. Being able to negotiate the difficulties and working your way and not give up and continue. That one will yield. That is what will flow naturally. Do not waste away precious human rebirth in order to accomplish the ultimate aspiration. So the ultimate aspiration is to attain Buddhahood, to attain Buddhahood, to enlightenment, for the sake of enlightenment. So ultimate aspiration is to be of use to others, to be of useful to other living beings by practicing Dharma. We have often never put our time for the benefit of others. If we did on some occasional, but usually with a mixture of our own purposes. So we should try to put our precious human will to the highest goal and purpose for the benefit of others, and do not waste away doing other lowly activities and so on. Since the effect of virtues and non-virtues do not deceive, meaning if you do good deeds, you don't have to remember. You don't have to be complimented. You don't have to be, your virtues doesn't have to be listed in bold on the top of the page, It will reward you no matter, So even if you commit a non-virtues, nobody knows about it, nobody to complain to you, don't think you are going to get away with it. You will meet with the consequences. So do not bring yourself to self-ruin, thinking that you can deceive the law of karma. This is amazing, people who believe in karma, they almost see the Buddha right before them, or they can see their own mind, They can tell themselves. In Lojong teaching says, be the better of the two witnesses. Be yourself the witness. Not ask others to be witness to prove how good you are, how you didn't do anything, and it's all his fault that you're totally innocent. If you try to do that, that's deceiving everybody, including yourself and future. So therefore, it says that it will only bring self-ruin if you think you can get away with the workings of the natural law of cause and effect. And actually, faith in the Buddha is not really highly recommended, but faith in the law of karma is. Because faith in law of karma predates Buddha, So therefore, it's not what the Buddha taught that wasn't there. He was teaching the nature of law. That's the law of gravity, or law of whatever it is, law of cause and effect. And Einstein was revered as a scientist because he sort of discovered relativity. The thing about Buddha would be scientist of what? Enlightenment. Relativity is not a cause of enlightenment, but still not a bad attempt, really. It's pretty remarkable to the modern world, anyway. By bringing that, it told that relativity is basically highlighting Buddha's teaching as a relative truth, But everything is relative to this, Good is only relative to something other than itself, and late is only relative to how not early you are, and so on and so forth. So, law of causality. So basically, relative truth is in many ways causality, talking about how one becomes the cause to produce this effect, The produced effect is not by itself an effect. It was something else before. So it's good to know that today you practice generosity, or today you experience abundance in your life. Quite a lot of people do. We are all living in an abundant country. If we don't rejoice this as a result of generosity of people in our lives and the government and so on, we will be completely ungrateful. It is. Not only that, we should believe that practicing generosity is the cause of abundance, And practicing tolerance is cause of beauty and good figure, good body. And practicing humility is cause of a lot of joy. People who have a lot of joy is because they have few people they really love and respect, and they have a lot of joy. Those who don't respect others, including the parents or let alone others, they have no joy. They have things, but things don't bring joy. But those who have forgiveness, generosity, faith in the Dharma, and kindness of the parents. They remember them, and they do things to the parents that they really feel grateful to, and so on. They will have real reason to be alive. They have joy. So we're talking about cause and effect. We're talking, may they be free from suffering and cause of suffering. May they have happiness and the cause of happiness. You can't say you can have happiness, but people say, what's the cause of it? Cause of happiness are not things. Cause of happiness are kind of thoughts that you choose that are wholesome. Wholesome thoughts causes happiness. Negative thoughts causes unhappiness. So when we're talking about here, the law of cause and effect, you will only deceive yourself if you do not believe in that. And therefore, you shouldn't think my unhappiness is caused by him. Because you will not. You will know from the teachings, my unhappiness is caused by my own selfishness, my cardinal afflictions, my negative karma consummated sometime before, maybe 5, 10, 20 years or year before, life before, I have resorted to this, therefore I'm like this. If you did that, you're at least taking responsibility. Otherwise, you're also blaming that to somebody. So bring some kind of a order in way of assessing what is the cause, what is the effect. If you don't know, ask other people. The teachings are very articulate about what is the cause, what is the effect. They even say that particular experiences in your life that are pleasant in this life are result of good things you did to other people. And likewise, if you're going through some difficult experiences, these are not caused by the people that directly you thought you dealt with and so on. These are actually caused by your past things. You did these to other people. And then you are now experiencing this, what they call habitual karma, experiential karma, environmental karma, There are lots of law of cause and effect. So therefore, have some kind of a ability to see the cause and effect. Cause and effect. You would definitely. What does it do is when you understand and accept the cause and effect, you tend to accept the difficulties with humility, and you don't reject them. If you don't reject them, you exhaust them as soon as you accept them. If you accept them, it makes you strong, and next time similar things repeat, you're even more able to accept them. So you don't exacerbate the karma that you don't reject the karma. You accept them. What you did in past, look at the present life situation. What you're going to be in the future, look at the present attitude. Present attitude. So when you're able to do that, then you have some kind of good kind of a understanding, comprehension of Dharma. Since impermanent life is by nature swift and transient, so meaning our life is very, very transient and impermanent. You couldn't believe your stations of life, of relationship, of your health, of your position, of your where you are, what you're doing, who is no longer that to you, what you are no longer this to them, or you cannot be because they don't want to, or whatever the case might be. It's quite interesting. You want to be friend, but they don't want to be. Amazing. Gosh, you haven't got a say. When the karma shifts from their side, you couldn't really want them to remain friend. You want them to go, and they don't want to go. It's amazing that both are experiencing different cause and effect of their own creation. Do not postpone the practice of Dharma, meaning if things are not working your way, just practice Dharma, means accept the impermanence of things. Everything is impermanent, so why you try to make it last longer? So somebody doesn't want to work with you anymore, just don't try to hold them back at ransom, but say thank you and let them go, because that's the law of impermanence. Everything's impermanent. If your front beautiful tooth is causing more pain than its beauty holds, you should go to the dentist, have it removed. and don't get too attached to. Don't get attached to some things, because nothing lasts long. So transient. Everything is transient. Since not all wishes and plans can be realized, not all wishes, plans be realized. So if you're working with a few people and you try to do something, things doesn't go exactly what you want. Do not plan, fix goals. Very good. Do not plan fixed goals, as you can control the future. And then if you do, you get disappointed, then you get a lot of heartaches, and then you blame yourself and others, and so attached to your little goal, which might be just to put this ball in that goal, Sometimes the goal is very miserable, If I had a chance, I would go midnight, everybody's sleeping, I'll take the football, I'll put it in the goal, I will clap my hands, so successful. I can put this ball that nobody gets to put it over there. I did it myself. So people put such things as a goal, that's no victory, It's arrogance, or I don't know what it is, Conventionally, it's really important. But conquer your pride and ego. Why you compete with impossible things? You have so much opposition. There's just 11 men that's been training 8 hours a day to block you. And you want to break your shoulder with them? Just an analogy. I'm nothing against sport here. So sometimes I watch, Tibetans got really culture shock, what people do, Oh gosh, they do this, oh gosh, just for that. I suppose you will see, people will see the same thing for Tibetans doing prostration from East Tibet all the way thousands of kilometers on the dust. I watch sometimes myself, my friends, they do this. I say, I did all in one room. I did all in one room in comfort of a little prostration mat and a glass of water here, and then they're just going dirt and river and wet or cold or whatever, So I was thinking, amazing when the devotion and purpose of belief in the law of karma, believe, that you're bearing your ego and you're just surrendering your pride each time you bow down at the feet of the Buddha, and so like that, Amazing what people will do when you believe in the incontrovertible nature of the law of cause and effect. Yeah, you would not be intimidated to this. Do not postpone the practice Dharma, since faith is incidental. So practice of Dharma should not be postponed. Study regularly, meditate regularly, read regularly, and try to develop your understanding regularly. So don't postpone this. Do not let relatives bring yourself down, since they are companions of misdeeds. This is Rongton, sir. He's known for that. He basically did not want anything to do with relatives. So the most yogis who are deserters to their families and relatives. Rongton left when he was age of 18 from his birthplace. He never went back home once. He went on foot, traveled many miles, many months on foot, and then when he met his fellow practitioners and teachers, he just studied. He just completely, never thought of accompanying, doing anything for the family. So he just totally gave his life to practice, because he says they are companions of misdeeds. Yeah, if you work with your relatives, they'll push you to do this way or that way, mundane, worldly, us and them kind of thing, and you try to please one, and you're just doing out of attachment to them, and then even though you might be wrong, but you still think you're not, pretend that we are not wrong because you always have to side your relatives, that sort of thing, So the great practitioners have always treat relatives with contempt. and they say you should actually, if you're always very, very lenient to relatives and always think of being like that, your practice will be barred, your practice will be hampered. They say in Khenpo Ape Rinpoche, and he of course came to India in 1960s with everyone, and of course he's left home many years before that, and he went back once in mid-80s to India, to Tibet, and he met all the relatives, friends, but he didn't spend any time with them. He just said, "Oh, you're there? Oh, still okay." So he was mainly collecting books. He went to collect lost texts in Tibet. He went to bring all these texts. And then of course, in India and Nepal, he's a very highly realized great abbot, and everybody become his student. And some of his relative comes, he says, "Go away, we have no room for you." So people say, "Gosh, I have this eminent abbot as my uncle, but he's got like 50 monks living with him in a big compound, but no room for the relatives." So there's really almost like, if you have to appease the relatives, then you have to appease samsara, basically. And so some very serious monks were like that, very like that. Rongton, definitely. Rongton, his mother wrote to him 3 times, "Please come back. Your ailing mother, old mother, is dying. You are so celebrated, a famous teacher up in central Tibet, so great. But come and visit me. Have you forgotten me?" And she was really, really sad and missing him a lot and so on. And even then he wrote a letter saying, "No, I'm no good. I'm not good to come back. I cannot do anything for you. And but one day before you die, I will help you." So then, on the day that his mother died, he gave a powa, distant powa, that his mother's skull leaped out of her head, fell on his own lap. There is a powa he gave as repaying the kindness of mother he gave, So he was so realized, but he definitely repaid the kindness to help her at the bardo. But in this life, he says, "No, I'm sorry, I can't really help you because I will be too attached and I can't really do it." So a lot of relativism is just cause of attachment, and you wouldn't believe how they all become cause of each other's hindrances for spiritual growth, because you have to do. If you go to the one relative, that other one's a relative. Everybody wants you to do the thing. So that's why, they are usually companions of negativities, negative karma. They make you do things you don't want to do, because they wanted to say, "My daughter is doing this. Isn't this great?" Of course they want to feel that good too, but if your daughter wants to do something special dharmically, most mothers wouldn't. They wonder, "Oh, why are you doing this? What's wrong with this? About time you got a job." Yeah, people also say the same to me. "Lama Choedak, what are you doing in the West? You haven't got a proper job." Yeah, that's good. It's a joblessness is a good realization. Just doing the Dharma thing, just have a little bread in the mouth and potato in the hand and soup in the left hand is enough, really. You have to struggle so much, work around to. Yeah, if you try to appease all the relatives and do all those things, you won't have time to do Dharma. You wouldn't believe how many people have no time to do Dharma. They are so unfree because they're so committed to samsara, and this person's birthday. Some people writing down everybody's birthday. Oh gosh, I barely remember mine. And you have to keep everybody sending them after card. These days you don't have to remember, don't they? They all appear on the phone. Yes, very big. Samsara network is very difficult to keep. And if you do, you won't be free to do much. Yeah, you won't have time to practice Dharma. Yes, it's so easy to get caught in the samsara's quagmire. You wouldn't have time. So Rongton actually did exactly what he did, and therefore he became such a celebrated master who wrote 40 commentaries on Indian text. Khunu Rinpoche, who gave the translation of this to us, he said, in Tibet, Rongton is known as Zhungya Mawa. Zhungya Mawa means exponent of 100 texts. And, he became known as Mawe Singhe, meaning Mawe Singhe means line of speech, because he became teachers so many of his time. Even the highest lamas of his time, like his Kyabje Chogye Trichen, like Karmapa, his holiness Dalai Lama, both Dalai Lama and Karmapa of his time became his student. I mean, that's a good relative to have. That's a good relative. This 17th Karmapa, he's talking, every now and then he makes some historical remark. When he says about Rongton, he straight away go like this, That's his predecessor, 6th Karmapa, become disciple of Rongton. Even the 17th Karmapa goes, oh, Rongton Sheja, he was teacher of my predecessor, So, such practitioners who actually renounce life and family and personality and self, they did the true Dharma. Otherwise, Dharma lineage wouldn't be strong as it is. So these are the real, what he's saying is, relatives and families will only, wanted to keep you, pull you down in samsara. And they don't know it's samsara. They think it's life, They think it's a proper way of living or whatever, Buddha himself was like that, He himself was really, really unpopular. Until he got enlightened, he was really unpopular. From the night he left, deserted them, until he got enlightened, whole Kapilavastu was really angry at him. How dare he let us all down like this, And the whole town was depressed because he let them down. And the night he got enlightenment, that was a full moon, then the amazing bright light shone in the whole world, Most people didn't know it was due to his enlightenment. Even Kapilavastu people didn't know it was due to Buddha's enlightenment. And Ananda, his nephew, his cousin, that is his Buddha's uncle's son, was born on that night, coinciding Buddha's enlightenment. So, but Ananda is very special because his birthday is Enlightenment Day of the Buddha. And then when they did a naming ceremony for him, because he's in the royal family, and they gave him the name because everybody became happy of the arrival of this child after this long, treacherous 6 years of depression, sadness in the city, because Shakyamuni left them. So they called him Ananda. Joyous one. He brought joy to everybody. And later on, they checked the date when Buddha came. They realized that actually was the night when it became very bright light. It's because of the Buddha gaining enlightenment, not because Ananda was born. Of course, Ananda's birth was coincided to bring joy to them and coincided light. But actually light was because Buddha's enlightenment. See? Quickly Buddha dispelled all their sadness into light. So, Buddha actually did not remain, companion of misery with them. He became the guide of enlightenment. So sight, he gave sight to everyone. So of course, if one is treating relatives and families with contempt and aversion and anger, we're not talking about that here. We're talking about genuine futility of such investment of time and energy in such things, and doing neither good for them and oneself in the future, but doing something good in the long run. And that's exactly what it's talking about. So do not waste one's time under the sway of these relatives who may become only companion of the misdeeds. Make request to oneself, since it is only eating once in 100 occasions. So meaning you should make request to yourself. Please feed yourself. Dharma. You're going hungry otherwise. You're eating so much, but yet you're hungry. You're drinking so much, yet you're thirsty. You got so much, but still you feel empty. Now give yourself the Dharma, and then he says, this will make yourself truly felt like you have been well fed. This Dharma is primarily needed for oneself alone, so seek no gratitude from others. Yeah. Because you practice Dharma, don't seek gratitude or respect and recognition and compliment from others. This doesn't mean Dharma as Dharma practice, Even you do wonderful things in the society, in the world, in the community, to your loved ones, as a Dharma practice as much as your filial duty, you should not seek gratitude from them. Then you are not practitioner. It's your honor to do what you have to do, whether it's helping someone or consoling someone or being kind to someone and giving a couple of hours of yours to whatever you do. You should not seek gratitude from others. People do a lot of things to each other, but they always want something back, as if that wasn't good enough in itself, because we put always some kind of material value to what we do, and this is so demeaning to humanity, really. We should not put this always a price tag to what we do, Good things are very, very precious, so precious to be put into a kind of monetary value. So therefore, when you do good to others, patience or tolerance or generosity or caring for others or whatever, don't seek any gratitude or compliment from them. If you do, you're wasting away the practice. One hand you're feeding, one mouth they're trying to tear away from here. So if you do good, don't seek gratitude from others, hide your virtues, hide the good. It doesn't need compliment. Law of cause and effect will take care of it comprehensively. You don't need the gratitude from others. So, but there's lots of time people think, I need to be complimented, we need to be recognized, all that sort of thing. It's a very materialistic way of thinking, So whatever one does, do it because it needs to be done, not because who is the doer type of thing. It doesn't need to be known who does it, but that it needs to be done. In that case, how should a sincere person practice Dharma from the depth of his heart? Yeah, by understanding death and impermanence, he should not spare any time to leave his body, speech, mind lay idle. So this is talking about how not to waste our precious human rebirth lying idle, doing nothing useful, doing certain things to be temporarily please the senses, but totally neglecting the purpose of our heart and mind. By understanding the nature of cyclic existence, which is futile and hollow and often meaningless, arouse definite renunciation from samsara. Yeah, develops samsara is a pit where people become attracted, but actually it's where people become all entrapped and never become free to do Dharma-wise. One should remain alone in hermitage without distraction of having to appease the benefactors. So it's talking about the hermits actually dwell far in the forest with little or nothing to do with appeasing other people. Try to remain simple, and so that you're not always try to appease the benefactors and doing all those things, arranging all the front seat for the benefactors. All the Tibetan cultures don't like that, benefactors get a front seat. Things like that. Yeah, there's a bit of lopsided, that one. By seeing how life is plagued by lack of time, strive day and night in wholesome application. Yeah. So seeing the shortness of time, strive the practice of Dharma day and night. By understanding how perceptions are deluded, it is important not to be swayed by confusion. Yeah. If you feel your mind is a little bit confused, you have doubt and things like that, don't ever go there. You're already pretty much wallowed in them. So don't visit doubts. Don't visit doubts, because they'll eat you. They'll eat you and devour you, and you wouldn't have anything left of you. That's good. I'll finish this section tonight because read the rest of it, pretty self-explanatory. Clinging to the concept of emptiness as real causes samsara. Yeah. So even you understand emptiness, do not think the emptiness itself is real. So therefore, don't grasp, because if you have clinging even to emptiness, it is a wrong view. So if you understand emptiness, you should let go of the clinging to everything, including samsara. Yet samsara is endless. The knowledge which realizes emptiness will liberate. Yeah, if you have the correct knowledge, emptiness will liberate, means release you from attachment to pleasant ones and aversion to the negative ones. There's no support. For nirvana. Methods to establish awareness is countless. The path in samsara is vast and broad. The precipice of liberation is narrow and hard to ascend. So it's talking about the various obstacles on the way is very, very precarious. People who are inspired possess low diligence. Yeah. Some people who are insipid possess low diligence. Sentient beings are too numerous to appraise. You don't try to appraise sentient beings. Sentient beings you can't appraise. You can hardly appraise yourself. Dharma practitioners are fewer than stars during the day. It is very difficult to liberate from the suffering caused by confusion. So it's talking about Dharma practitioners fewer than stars during the day, means true Dharma practitioners. There's the pseudo practitioners are many. But true practitioners are not very many. Most people practicing as a form of a cultural kind of a conservative way of keeping their bare momentum going as some of their duty. So those kind of cultural practices that you keep regularly, but actually there's no kindness increasing, no compassion increasing, no conquest of one's affliction increase. If that's not happening, that's so the meaning practitioners Dharma fewer doesn't mean number wise. Even formal practitioner might be fewer than the others, but even those who truly practice Dharma are those who really change their look and examine their own mind. It is very difficult to liberate from suffering caused by confusion, as perpetual confusion doubles confusion time again. Therefore, I urge all to strive so that if the wall of basis of all consciousness collapse, forms of karma will become automatically pacified. So this is talking about the wall of the basis of all consciousness that refers to the alaya vijnana consciousness. So the karma is only plaster to this wall of all consciousness. So he says, first you have to cause the wall to collapse. If the basis consciousness from the all kind of unconsciousness that it is otherwise holding together. So the karma themselves do not truly exist. They are conditioned by the consciousness and volition and so on. The so-called karma doesn't exist by itself. So this is very important. People think that karma is real and fixed and permanent. Even karma does not exist by itself. The empty basis of all is apprehended as not truly. The empty basis of all is apprehended as truly existing phenomena. One's own mental projection is perception, but one holds it as truly existing external entity. So meaning we usually think something exists by itself, even though it's one's own perception. From the spiteful mind, hijacking of external and internal reality, the increased power of its propensity is imputed as action. So this is talking about the perception and action. In reality, there is no entity that exists by itself. if the bottom of the basis of all is removed, this is alaya, removed, then there is no container to hold the actions. So the actions are usually the consciousness are actually imprinted by the actions. And so that's why the actions is the contained, and all base consciousness is container. So then there is no container in to hold action. If the 5 objects are liberated, 5 objects are form, sight, smells, and these things are liberated, meaning meditate, know their lack of inherent existence. Form is emptiness, as Buddha says. When you hear form, usually we think they're truly existing. But if you see the form as a manifestation of emptiness, then the bottom of the bottom of the form object is liberated. Then there are no object to create action with, because you see the form as emptiness. And if you see the form as emptiness, you wouldn't react to it as if it truly existing. So you wouldn't invest attachment to an empty form or aversion to an empty form, and therefore action does not get consummated. Only inaction. If mind lacks the root, there is no agent to create an action. So this is talking about the object and the mind and the action. So the tree has no root. Tree that has no root will not grow leaves and petals. Yeah. If the pillar axle of the wheel is broken, the bucket of water cannot make it turn. So this is talking about water mills. When you look at water mills, water is pouring. Have you seen water mills? Water is pouring from some steep couple maybe to 10-15 meters of height, and then the stone mills, the wheel is at there, so the water falls under the axle and it turns the axle, and then it makes the actual water mill in the room actually turn the grinder, turn the grinder. But it's on. That's not because the water is falling. The water is falling on the axle. Then it is making. Like the watches also, if something is loose connection, it doesn't go, particularly the not those without batteries, they don't do like that. So it's talking about how the karma get machinated as a result of this. If the pillar or axle of the wheel is broken, that's ignorance. Grasping ignorance, then bucket of water cannot make it turn. Even you pour the water, it wouldn't turn because it hasn't got the mechanism. So the mechanism of our suffering is caused by the clinging and grasping. The person whose heart is removed cannot wave his arm. Yes, it's an interesting example, don't you think? If the king of one's mind is imprisoned, subject of karma are vanquished. So talking about how to control your mind. Will not the brilliant sun rays of realization suppress all the constellation of stars of karma? That's a question. So he's saying that if the brilliant rays of the sun of realization, when the sun shines, all the stars are just dimmed. All the dimmed, So when the light of Dharma shines, then all the things that we do karma, all the karma becomes suspended, all the activity is suspended. If the armor is delivered later, the suppression is realized, If the armor is delivered later, suppression is realized. Yeah. If you can deliver the armor, and then your practice will achieve to suppress the problems. The practice will not fall down if body, speech, mind rescue from the poisonous pit. Yeah, so he's talking about if the mind and body and speech, are brought out of the pit, then your practice will not collapse, because your practice practice is to rescue yourself from being fallen into the pit. If the practice is carried out in the hermitage, deities and dakinis are pleased. So he's talking about if you practice your meditation in very sort of distant solitude, the dakas and dakinis, deities, wherever they are, will be pleased. So that you will not be uninformed of your accomplice. If all things are abandoned as unnecessary, the meditative concentration becomes serviceable. Meaning, if you do not leave everything aside, you cannot meditate. So, meaning, as soon as you're able to leave everything aside as unnecessary and not important, at least when you're doing meditation, then your meditation becomes serviceable. Meaning, your meditation will bear fruit. A lot of people meditate, but when they're meditating, they're thinking of all the things. And so their concentration isn't yielding much result because they are meditating about the life and all those things, and therefore meditation itself could not progress. That's why one has to put aside everything as a priority. You just decide to do less of those things. You do less samsara and more practice of Dharma. If you do that, and that's exactly Milarepa succeeded. Shakyamuni Buddha, Milarepa, and I'm sure there are others. There's those two gentlemen, those two enlightened ones come to my mind instantly because they both left nothing as a material possessions that people go looking at or as exhibit in the National Museum. They don't say, maybe this is a little bit blasphemous for me to say, but when you visit some of the museums, when I went to Taipei, this National Museum, very beautiful museum, and there's a huge collection of Tibetan things, and they usually and they'll show you the golden saddle of the 5th Dalai Lama. And this is pretty amazing. One of the main exhibits is amazing artwork. You can see that it's a beautiful saddle, so much intricate silversmith, but all gold. And how old? 400-year-old. Yeah. If you are into Lamaism, that's what you will get. You'll get exhibits of expensive things of some lamas. If you go to the Buddha Gaya, you don't see any expensive saddles of the Buddha. You wouldn't even find sandals of the Buddha. You'll only hear his teachings written on palm leaves. So we need to really distinguish. The Dharma doesn't get hijacked by opulence and richness and gold and silver and royalty, things like that. So therefore, you shouldn't have time to do all of those material things. You shouldn't have time to do all the samsara things. And then you're, what they do, I'm Tibetan. I'm quite allowed to be critical of how Tibetans fail their nation to guard the country because they become so enmeshed with politics, with the Dharma, and royalty with the simplicity. I mean, that doesn't go well. Simplicity of monks should be kept as simplicity, but when you treat them in royalty with all these things, then that becomes elevate them as some this and that, and then Dharma becomes quite, and all the sectarianism. They use the positions of high lamas and not so interesting people make all the decisions. Use the name of the office of the Dalai Lama and so on, and then very very difficulties have ensued. But it's quite interesting. So that's why it is important that one should emphasize the practice of Dharma. More important. More important. All of these things should be put aside. He says, if all things are not abandoned as unnecessary, the meditative concentration becomes insufficient. And what do you have? Huge. The Potala. I can say this for the sake of teaching, otherwise very un-Tibetan to say these things, which is quite okay, and I'm quite happy to renounce my Tibetanness if serves Dharma. And I go to Potala. I couldn't believe. Inside the Potala, every single room that is important was filled with this like two, three stories high, solid gold and silver stupas attributed to each of the Dalai Lamas, and put all these chains from every side in fear of being stolen or whatever. And I was next to me. There was a Han Chinese. He couldn't believe his eyes. I can understand he couldn't believe his eyes. Who would put so much wealth, so much material wealth to such a thing when the rest of the subjects are very poor and poverty doesn't have a decent toilet? So all the emphasis has gone to this opulence and things like that, and while the actual looking after the subjects and well-being of their spirituality, I don't know how much it was really taken care. There's all those inner wranglings and political strives and sectarianism, and how they have all the problems, internal problems, to the extent of invoking external forces to invade. You can see was all gone into that. So Dharma is kept really much in form, but it's totally gone into the excessive form of the other side. That simplicity of practitioners, If we can go to a little cave where some of the high lofty lamas went and meditate, that's good pilgrimage. It doesn't feel like pilgrimage, when you go there. It feels like you go into this treasury of the universe where all the riches are kept, and materialism is not considered relics. They're not relics. They're a cause of conflict and blood and sweat and tear, particularly if they were collected or gathered a quite questionable way, maybe from dead people's office, offering from the estates and all of that, of course, So a lot of emphasis has gone into that. So because the practice of Dharma becomes itself, unless you are able to exchange your with Dharma, your practice does not doesn't progress. It is important, that practitioner has distinctive ability to know what is the path on which they're practicing, and what is the diligence they need to go in order to conquer their mind stream. So this concludes the first part of the text. Before it goes into the actual instructions on the perfection of wisdom. So with that, we will conclude here, everyone. Thank you very much. Quite an interesting section down there tonight. Yeah, no Tibetan in here, so I'm safe. Sonam wants to say something. Come on, put your hands up. Hello.
I would like to say that I came fairly late and discovered the path, having a lifetime of science, and not realizing this part of me that was missing. And I found on the very first day I sat on a cushion in a little tiny gonpo in the old school in high school in Holder, I suddenly realized that there was an elephant and a monkey and a cause and an effect, and nothing was interdependently existing, and there was a path, and it was a huge, like an earthquake, a change. And it was very, very hard to not be over-enthusiastic and over-excited and to get too, do too much too quickly. And I can see how a lot of people could do that. And I am trying to recover from that. But I can understand your earlier points were taking meant a lot to me, because I am trying to take that all in and bring that inside me, and it's going to take a long time, and learning that, and I've learned some lessons, thank you, but I do remember it was very hard to not get overexcited very early, and that was a very helpful reminder. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Of course, people who are middle-aged, grown up, very educated, have seen the world, discover what really science has brought, and admiring and relishing the scientific discoveries and modern worlds and so on. You think that everything there, but still feeling every day the actual nitty-gritty problems of life caused by karma and affliction, and all of a sudden when you meet Dharma, of course you couldn't believe. Everybody have reason to be excited, Everybody have reason to be excited, and so and that's really good. I mean, I mean, people are always searching, and you might as well acknowledge something that you found was worthwhile, That's not premature diligence at all, That's so good on you. Thank you very much. So, yeah, let's do the honors of doing the dedication of everybody's wonderful attention and enthusiasm with these first 5 lessons we have, and then next week onwards we will actually go through the main body of the actual instructions on the perfection of wisdom. You can see the preliminary itself is very much a useful instruction to prepare our mind to be receptive to understand the 10 perfection of wisdom, what would have you. So let's do the dedication. I'll screen share the page. Om Bodhi Mere Mehawaraga Dadeva Venzage Hamneja Mehaile Bereda Bebrande Ojana Badade Zenede Hirenda Mahayana Dije Deva Mereda Meobe Begazela Toda Mahayana Dije Kareja Manjushinewode Azama Drabadradelawa Follow it Zambo Aja de Dege Ode Mere Mede Hexelem Bodi Jida Tebe Veheda Nayadaza Where has been Bomeding Freely without generation. Thank you, everyone.